Just like the old Rod Stewart song goes, I wish I knew what I know now when I was younger. We all wish we had a crystal ball and we could go back and change some of the decisions that we made in the past. Unfortunately, going back to the future and becoming millionaires.
How do you know where I live?
Let's just say we're related, Biff. And that being the case, I got a little present for you.
Isn't going to happen. What we can do, though, is learn from our mistakes, learn from other people's mistakes, and make well-informed and hopefully better decisions moving forward. As with everything in life, we can't make perfect decisions every single time. All we can do is make the best decisions that we can with the knowledge and information we have. Hopefully, along the way, we can make more good decisions than bad decisions, which will lead to a better quality of life. And as preparedness is concerned, a better preparedness plan and ready to handle any situation that you might face. As we look back through life, there are always decisions we think about, oh, I should have done this or I should have done that. As far as preparedness goes, you're thinking about, why was I paying so much attention to this when I should have been paying attention to that? And that sort of leads me to my first one, and that is preparing for all disasters, not just the big one. There are disasters that happen all the time that are more likely to affect us than the big ones like the nuclear war or EMPs, supervolcanoes, things like that. The disaster scenarios that are more likely are the ones that we should be focusing on first and build out a well-rounded preparedness plan. Plan for those things that regardless if nothing major happens in your lifetime, you're going to be prepared for those little events. Even if it's just a road bump in life, you can handle that much better if you have your food storage, your water storage, you have some money in the bank. So as you are going through your preparedness journey, make sure you are thinking about those everyday disasters, the personal doomsdays, the natural disasters, the things that are going to be more likely to affect you than an asteroid falling from the sky, a supervolcano, a nuclear war, or something like that. Next, I have water storage and cleaning. And this isn't brain surgery. Water storage is really not that hard. The hard part comes in with the amount that you need to store depending on how long you are preparing for. If you are preparing for 6 months, that's a whole lot of water to have stored in your house. And depending on your living conditions, that makes it even harder to do. But as you look back, water storage, I think for most of us are going to regret not doing a little bit more to solve that problem. Yes, if you have water storage in your house, you store it somewhere and it basically sits there. It could sit there for years and years without ever being used. But when that time comes and you need that, that is the most important survival supply or most important part of your preps that you're going to need. So it really is important to focus on water, whether that is water storage, whether that is, a well, a stream by your house, your geographic location, whatever it is you need to do. Think about those things because water is something that we don't give a second thought to these days because just like turning on the lights, you turn on the faucet and it's always running. So we don't ever think about it. But what happens when it's not? So water is one of those things. If you don't have a lot stored now, maybe look into your different alternatives because you don't want to be looking back going, man, I wish I would have figured out this situation or thought about this situation a little bit more. The next one I have is long-term food storage, and this isn't the pantry foods, the foods that last 2 or 3 years. I'm talking foods that last a decade or longer. And while a lot of people don't include this and a lot of people don't plan on, preparing over a year, 2 years, 3 years, having this long-term food is a benefit, even if you're preparing for the short term, because the shelf life on these foods are so long that even if it is sitting in your pantry for a year, you've still got that decade plus on those foods. Whereas you've got your pantry foods, and yes, they will, they're good for 1 year to 2 years. But if those are sitting on your shelf for a year and a half before something happens, then you're only down to 6 months and possibly some even expired. So the longer the shelf life on something, the bigger window you have as far as being ready for a disaster situation, because we don't get to pick when it's going to happen. And there's only so much we can do as far as inventory and rotation and making sure we're using those foods. So I think the longer term foods, whether you're talking about the prepackaged foods or you're talking about DIY buckets, however you do that, or canning, those are going to be something that you look back and think, wow, I wish I would have spent a little bit more time on those. Next, I have household tools. And this is something over the years I've collected. You buy this for, you may only need it for one certain thing, but you put it in the toolbox. I've got 14 different screwdrivers, a bunch of different pairs of pliers, files, and things like that, hammers. Those are the things that are going to be important depending on what the disaster scenario is. And if there is no hardware, if the Home Depot is closed and you can't go to Home Depot to buy this or that, you're going to want to make sure you have those available to you. Tools like shovels, the gardening tools, the socket sets, and all the different tools that you can think of. You never know when those are going to become useful. So just amassing a collection of tools, as many as you can. And if you don't have a lot of space, maybe it is just one of each, a socket set. You've got the power tools. You need a way to recharge those. But think about the things that might be necessary in a hurricane, earthquake, or tornado. Shovels, pickaxes, and things like that may be really important. So we need to make sure we have those available to us. Next on the list, I have your property and geographic location. And this is a tough one for a lot of people. You can only do what you can do. So researching how much property is going to cost, researching your geographic location, where you are located, and maybe over the course of time, we're not talking like this year or next year, but over the course of time, you save up money. You're able to buy a small plot of land, or you move to a location that isn't going to be quite as dangerous. These days, the Second Amendment, it's not just a location in your state. It's sometimes it's finding a different state. Also, the hazards around your area play a factor. If there are nuclear silos, military bases, things like that could be a target, that may not be the safest place to be. So while owning property, moving to a different geographic location may be difficult and even impossible sometimes, it is something that if there is a means for us to do that, we should really think about that, because when something does happen, that could be one of those regrets that you have, is not moving to this state or not having a little bit of property that because you never thought you were going to have to bug out, but you do. And now you have to post up on somebody else's property or something. That could be something you look back at and say, man, I wish I would have spent a little bit more energy on that. And sort of along the same lines of property is building community. And this is a tough one. And with this, I don't mean forming prepper groups, although that is a good idea as well, but getting to know your neighbors, getting to know who your allies and who your enemies are going to be in a situation like that. Maybe not necessarily enemies depending on the disaster situation, but who is going to be helpful and who is not. Who is going to be a drag on you and who is actually going to help you get things together, who has the same sort of mindset. So I think building community and doing things like that are, me especially, sometimes we tend to put that on the back burner. But it is really something that when something does happen, even from something that a very small scale to something larger scale, your friends and your neighbors are going to be around anyway. So you may as well have the best relationship possible. All right, so next I have training and skills, and I probably talk about this just like water with every video I do. But training and skills are far more important than the supplies that you have. I call them force multiplying skills, because if you take some first aid classes, even just the CPR classes, if you go out to the range and get instruction from an actual instructor, if you learn about some of these wilderness skills, bushcraft skills, the supplies that you have are going to be even more valuable to you in situations like that. So the first aid kit is great to have for everyone. but understanding how to use a chest seal, understanding how to use quick clot, things like that. The more you learn, the more skills that you have, the better, the more useful you're going to be with those supplies. As far as a bug out bag, it also reduces the amount of supplies that you need. The more skills you have, the less supplies that you need to take with you, the more you can think on your feet. So I think training and skills and just learning in general is far more important than the supplies you have. Although the supplies you have are important as well, it doesn't mean that you need to spend $100,000 on prepping in the first 6 months or so. You can spend the 6 months learning about things, taking classes, and become far more prepared than a person that's got a year or two's worth of food storage and thinks they are ready for the apocalypse. And training and skills also go into learning about the reality of some of these disaster situations and not falling for a lot of the doom porn. Understand how something's going to unfold. This is not Hollywood.
Here they come!
This is real life, and understand what might happen in that situation. So learn about those, learn about everything else that you possibly can. The more you learn, the better your preparedness plan is going to be. And I mentioned not having to spend a whole bunch of money on preparedness up front, and that sort of leads to the next one, which is getting out of debt. Again, another one that is a little bit easier said than done, but we should be trying as much as we possibly can each month to reduce our debt and not go into more debt, whether that is going out to eat fast food a couple times a week, minimizing that, whether that is not talking yourself into something. I do that all the time. There are different preparedness supplies that I can rationalize why I need this, why I need that. Getting out of debt could be one of the most important parts of preparedness, because there are disasters where everything will just completely fall apart. But like I talked about earlier with prepare for the smaller disasters as well as the larger disasters, there are some where the economy goes to crap or something like that, and they will come to take your home, to take your car, you know, whatever they can. They will repossess whatever they feel like they need to, and they don't care about your personal situation. So the less you are beholden to somebody else, the more free you are to do whatever you want. And finally here, I have your mental well-being and spirituality. And this could be the most important one on this list, because without this, you're not going to be able to get all of the other stuff done. If you are a Christian, you know exactly how important this is, and it is the most important thing to be ready spiritually. And even if you're not, it's important to be well-grounded and in a good place when it comes to preparedness, because inherently preparedness is about all the different disasters and all the bad things that can go on. And if we allow it to consume us, we can turn into what a lot of people think preppers are. These people that are scared, hiding in their bunkers, afraid to talk to people, and just hoarding supplies and waiting for the end of the world. We need to live our daily lives as well. And we need to understand that there are only so many things that we can control, and we need to do what we can to control those. But the other things we sort of need to let go a little bit of. We need to live our daily lives. And if we are consumed by all this fear, this anger, this doom porn, like I talked about earlier, we're not going to live a happy and productive life. And if we're not happy and productive, we're not going to do as good of a job when it comes to preparedness. So the spirituality, the mental well-being, these are things I think as preppers, especially when you first get into preparedness, you're consumed by all the doom porn and the fear and all that. But we can't allow that to consume us. We need to live our regular lives and understand that there are things that are going to happen around us regardless what we do. So we need to accept that and do what we can do to prepare for those. And the things beyond our control, it may be easier said than done, but we need to sort of let go of and let things unfold the way they are. And if you do find yourself in a survival situation where you have to make critical decisions, your mental well-being is going to be a huge factor in how well you handle that situation. There are going to be a lot of people that don't handle it very well. The 5 stages of grief. there are going to be people that just completely give up, and we can't afford to be those people. So along with working on the water storage, the food storage, and all the supplies, we need to work on ourselves as well and make sure that we have the right mindset about preparedness. Yes, there are some scary things that are going on and things that could happen tomorrow or next month or next year, possibly 10 years down the line. But we need to think about this holistically and think about everything in look at the big picture of everything. So with that, that's just 10 things that I think as you look back on preparedness, there are always things you wish you did better. You wish you thought about this. We don't know which disaster is going to happen. So it is one of those things that regardless of how good we think we've got everything figured out, there's bound to be something that we didn't think about. Something is bound to happen that we think we put this on our threat level, this disaster or that disaster, but all of a sudden something else comes up and creeps in, and that's what happened, and we weren't prepared for that. So it's just a really good idea to think about some of these things now. And if you are just starting out with preparedness, this is sort of a head start a little bit. Like I said in the beginning, learn from the mistakes other people have made. But this is just a good head start, and it's good if you've been doing this for a while to just kind of reflect a little bit and think about maybe you have been getting pulled down one little rabbit hole a little bit too long and you've forgotten about a few other things, so you need to adjust course. But these are the things I think will have a big impact that don't make the headlines, that we don't hear about on social media, but will in a disaster situation be very important. So with that, if you like this video, make sure and hit the like button. If you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure and subscribe. Just hit that subscribe button and then hit the bell notification, and you'll get notified anytime I do more videos. But with that, I am done here today. If you've got anything to add, make sure and leave it in the comments below. But we will talk to you later. Take care and prepare, everyone. See you next time.